I believe so. Everyone is aware of modern trade and what FMCG is. I don't know whether everyone is well versed with AgriTech in general and how its presence is there in the organized sector, retail sector. So I would share my details about that as well. So basically, shoppers in India, India's metro cities mostly, are increasingly shifting to supermarket chains, which we commonly refer to as modern trade, right? And even ordering their groceries, prompting the two organized retail formats to corner more share in the sale of fast-moving consumer goods in a country where local grocery stores are still they control bulk of the market. So overall, two formats now account for roughly the FMCG sales uh, in countries' metro cities. We'll talk about organized sector in general. Uh, and overall, if I talk about retail in general, uh, in general sense, it would be organized trade, unorganized trade, and e-commerce. Well, terminologies change from time to time. Organized trade can be termed as modern trade. Well, within modern trade, there are supermarket stores, which are the brick and mortar stores, which we see oftenly see in the streets and in the shopping malls. And then there is, the master wholesale platforms as well, which comes into place, like Metro Cash and Carry. And again, that is a kind of organized trade, but there can be unorganized wholesale markets as well. So overall, the two platforms now account for roughly about 30% of FMCG sales in the country's metro cities. Uh, Nelson counts Nelson, which is a consulting-based company. I think everyone should be aware of it. AC Nielsen counts 52 cities as metro cities in India for those with a population of over 10 lakhs. It is said that the quarter of 2022, that the share of modern trade stores in these metro cities moved up to 22.3% of the in the same period. A year ago, it was 24.7, which is now. So while e-commerce went up again in up to 5% in January March quarter of 2022 till right now, which is 7.3%. So recently, as I can remember, in the last quarter update of India's FMCG sector, overall, I am talking about the market researchers assessed that the contribution and growth rates of these traditional trade, modern trade, and e-commerce or B2C sales channels to FMCG sales in India. The researchers basically looked at retail channels in India's metros, as well as they mapped their popularity in pan-India scale. So still, however, across India, traditional trade still continues to control the bulk of stores where goods of daily use are brought and sold, right? Across India, in terms of contribution of FMCG sale, the share of traditional trade. See, when we go out, Vinith, who is already in the market visiting a GT store, probably. Well, again, GT or MT. MT is the definition of MT depends from company to company. Some companies consider local chains as modern trade, while some companies don't. They prefer national chains to be known as modern trade in their books. So overall, when for this session, we would speak about the retailers who are organized by nature. Where if I go back to any of the retailers and ask them that what was my sale in the month of October of 2021 or 2019, they would be able to drag their data down and just tell me. So that is what organized retailer we mean in this session. So again, the share of traditional trade is still the largest. If we go out in the market, we see like hundreds of GT stores and probably 5 modern trade supermarkets in the area. So, but it has dropped down from 88.5% in the first quarter of 2023 this year to 86.3% in the first quarter, which was in the last year's same quarter, first quarter. The shrinkage of 2.2% in the span of a year, whereas the share of modern trade has evolved from 9.6% in quarter one, which was last year, it was 9.6%, and this year it is 10.9%. So across India, the contribution of e-commerce is still at a minuscule level of 2.8%. Contribution of e-commerce or D2C platforms is fairly very, very low. And it majorly, the contribution has been there in the metro city zone. And the by e-commerce or D2C platform, I mean Big Basket, Zepto, Blinkit, and other platforms, Instamart and all. So the contribution of this channel matrix of these different retail channels has been changing over the last few years after COVID-19. The traditional retail has come down to 86%. So there is clearly some movement towards organized trade. People have shifted from traditional trade to organized trade. And within organized trade, both modern trade and e-commerce are taking the share as of now. So that is one thing, because people like because of different kind of promos, different kind of the ambience in general, the ease of buying. However, even the channel shifts are more amplified in metros, whereas the traditional trade has still dropped almost like 5% in the last 1 year again. So now, as COVID-19 was there, has swayed the shopping behavior, prompting more consumers to avoid crowded places. It is likely to boost adoption of online retailing in India as well. So more online grocery retailers like Blinkit, Zepto, Big Basket, Instamart, and other chains have been overwhelmed with these orders since India's strict lockdown started in 2020. So the demand has also prompted more industry players to join in the FMCG companies, and these physical stores have also amped up their presence in online with these new apps. There have been a lot of dropship applications that had surfaced. There is still one app called Dunzo, which is Reliance owns a majority stake in the company, though it is in the brink of probably bankruptcy as of now. But there are a lot of companies who do dropship models. Yeah, so that is one thing. So these retail physical stores have also tied up with logistic companies for home deliveries as well. Over the years, modern trade chains have drawn in huge numbers, especially through their own sales and promotional activities, such as celebrating key occasions. In modern trade, whoever has been in sales and has dealt with modern trade chains is fairly aware of a term called big day. So it is commonly big days, which is that includes the sales around Republic Day, Independence Day, and key festivities like Diwali and all. So retailer-driven big days have played a big role in the performance of organized trade channels, modern trade and e-commerce both. Organized channels witnessed consistent double-digit growth in the big day months in the last few years, indicating that big days could be an important lever to drive growth for the FMCG industry in the future months as well. It is, however, that e-commerce, these big days have progressively outperformed modern trade. Also to notice that since e-commerce probably doesn't have e-commerce, which again comes under modern trade, so it doesn't come. They don't bear that much of uh, overhead in terms of manpower at a store level, at a electricity level, at a rent level. So they can, the D2C platforms, they fairly give better promos and better deals while going to these stores. So that is one thing. But again, retail experience is something which that cannot be compensated. So when you go to a store, someone approaches you, they can give you some guidance, which is best, what is going on in the market, and you can, choose better. Well, D2C, again, digital marketing plays a key role while choosing any product. So we could see the relevance of these humble grocers could go up, and there could be a renaissance of that. Uh, Secondly, of course, would be an e-commerce, certainly, as people become adverse to stepping out. There should be a flipping e-commerce. More or less, the physical stores would be outperformed by the D2C platforms eventually. When we can see Zepto has raised, like, it is right now a 1.4 billion valuation company. While to reach that kind of a level, any traditional modern trade like Spencer's or Reliance took ages, and Zepto became a unicorn in like 2 years. They launched their platform. They were operating in Mumbai only at a very minuscule level in 2021, and they just boomed, right? So it happened very fast, and there will be a lot of other companies as well which will come. But again, we cannot just overrule that supermarkets or the brick and mortar stores, the supermarkets would go out of business. That is not going to happen. If you see, Reliance has been opening a lot of physical shops. Spencer's has been opening a lot of physical shops in the recent years as well. And so that is one thing. FMCG has been a main contributor behind this success of the shop openings as well, I would say. So FMCG is fast moving consumer goods, which is the traditional product line, what we use at a day to day level basis, which is a basically processed product. It can be a soap, it can be a floor cleaner, it can be food products, but that has to be processed. AgriTech in general, uh, it is agri and tech which is involved in it. So AgriTech is very fast. It is extremely vast. So I'll just give you an example. Uh, like, there are a lot of companies, right, in India, uh, which are emerging, to be very honest, in AgriTech. AgriTech is basically agricultural produce. So agriculture, as we know, uh, it is a vast industry, and it is the main and utmost important industry in India. But it was the most underdeveloped industry as well. It was solely reliant on the government policies per se. But right now there are a lot of startups emerging, a lot of VC fundings are happening. So with that in perspective, the how would I say? Uh, Agri-tech is not just procuring how we grow crops. Agri-tech in vast means using drones, using fertilizers, using sustainable ways to grow your produce, how you can increase your yield, a lot of things. But overall, in terms of organized trade, it would specifically mean sourcing the products from farmers, from FPOs. Uh, it could be fruits and vegetables as well. So, for example, if I talk about fruit and vegetables predominantly, you know, we buy them from local vendors, from street side vendors. They are not growing their products, right? We know that very well. We know that they are buying from some farmers. They're bringing it down to the streets on some push carts, and we buy them from there. That is the unorganized market. And in the organized market, if we go to, let's say, Big Bazaar, which is now Smart Bazaar, or a Reliance, or any other format, we see packed fruits and vegetables. So there, if you see behind, there is something called legal metrology. So legal metrology is an act which was developed in 2009. Then there has been a lot of amendments year on year. Every year there is some sort of amendment that is happening. So basically, Legal Metrology Act is uh, a rule book basically, where the labeling instructions are controlled. So if we see any food product, be it Lay's chips or a bottle of phenyl, or it can be a packed fruits and vegetables in a organized trade, we can see there, we can actually trace the product. When was it packed? What is the country of origin? What is the price? What is the weight? When it was packed, what was the weight back then? Because it is a live product, it will deteriorate day on day. There will be water loss. There will be a lot of uh, deterioration in the product, and we can also see the expiration date of that product. But when we go to the street vendor and buy agri produce, be it fruits or vegetables, we don't know when it was harvested. We don't, because uh, there is some sort. See, with the emergence of tech, all right. Previously, when we wanted to go somewhere, we used to ask, street bystanders, and keep, where is this house? Where is this house? And we used to go like that. Right now, we don't do that anymore, right? None of us do. We just put the location on Google Map and we just reach to the spot. So that is what tech drives us, and that is what the solution tech is providing. So in recent years, you would see there are bananas in the modern trade or general trade stores, and apples, which are sold loose, not packed even, but they would have a small QR code. There are some brands which have emerged in the market. They would have a small QR code, and that QR code, if you scan, you can trace back to the farmer, which farmer has grown, when was that product harvested, what was the preservative ripening chemicals used, or whether not none of the preservatives were used in that product. So you can trace back. That is what agritech is. Agritech is, if you have seen recently, there have been government policies where government have incorporated some agencies like NAFED and other agencies as well, where IFCO and others, where they have drone pilots. People in 20 years back used to have a big jug of pesticides in their back, and they used to go and spray it in their fields. Right now we use drones. So agritech is evolving day to day basis, and government is also pushing that. There has been subsidies in fertilizers. There were some specific fertilizers where government uses gives subsidy. So farmers, without knowing, whether they don't know that whether the soil requires that particular fertilizer or not, they just randomly buy because they're getting in getting at a very highly subsidized rate. They just buy it and just use it on their soil. But right now, again, there are multiple agri-tech companies which are focusing on soil testing equipment. So they can give the soil health reports. So by that, you can increase your you can choose which crops to grow, which crops will give you the best revenue per se. So that is what agri-tech is in general. But yes, again, there are a lot of emerging agri-tech companies which are not only mm, packing them locally and just sending it, but they are incorporating a lot of tech behind the products as well. When we as salespeople, work in the industry, we know there prior there was e-commerce existence, the domination of this e-commerce platforms in the market. We had modern trade as well as general trade, and there was always an eternal fight. There will never be an harm. That is the real story. So, to give you a perspective, there is something called B2B underline, right? So, right, for example, you are working for a FMCG company. It could be a startup, and and it could not be a startup as well. When you are going to a particular general trade outlet, probably you are giving a markup margin of, let's say, 10% or 25%. It could depend from company to company. While there could be an offer running on the same particular product in an organized supermarket, and they're selling at BOGO offer, buy one get one offer, which comes to 50%. So the retailer would definitely not buy from you, and would probably go to that supermarket and buy at 50% margin rather than getting 10% or 20% margin from you. So the sales of general trade definitely drops. That is the reality. Again, there has been some checks from the brands as well, not to create to maintain the harmony, like you said. So, for example, if I am working for, if I am the sole representative of a FMCG company, I don't want my general trade retailers to buy the products from the supermarkets, right? So I would put a capping on those products on the BOGO offers. So a lot of companies do that. So you can have a check that BOGO, they can buy 2 units or 3 units of that product. Probably else they would start buying them and selling at their own store. So if you see in general as well, you would see, let's say Spencer's is selling onion for 2 rupees. In some big days, they run these kind of offers, right? Big Basket sells sugar at 1 rupee at a purchase of this particular amount. So if that is happening, then you would expect I will buy like 50, 60 kilos or even like 200 kilos of onion at 1 rupee. I'll give 200 rupees, I'll get 200 kilos of onion, and I'll sell that at 40, 45 rupees at my general trade shop, whichever shop they are having their own vegetable section as well. But that doesn't happen. They limit to 1 kg per person, per bill, per ticket. So there is some sort of check that you can put. Coming to the harmony and synchronization between these 3 channels, where there is not much fight that is going on, that has to be taken at a store level. Sorry, at a brand level. It should be a brand call, I think. Basically, you have to bifurcate, because you don't want to bring down any of the market. You don't want your modern trade sale to go down and your e-commerce business, while it is going up, you don't want any of the other chain business to go down. So you have to have certain promos dedicated to the TG that is there. You have to have you can increase your ticket size, you can do cross-selling, you can do upselling along with your products. You can have billbuster promos that is going at a supermarket level, but you can have maybe you can collaborate with other brands and increase your sales drastically at D2C application platforms as well. General trade, you have to have a relationship. That is again one thing. It doesn't just run on promos, from my personal experience. But yes, you have to have some sort of checks in order to build this harmony. A person working for a FMCG company who is selling their products in modern trade chains, and they want to maximize their sales through product positioning, marketing strategies within the store, in store, right? So there are multiple ways. Some requires investment. You can buy shelf spaces for a month, or For a quarter, you can buy end caps, you can have floor stacks, you can have small parasites that you can do. That is the investment that requires budget. On the other hand, there is something which is much budget friendly. You can have uh, again without investing, you can give you can do cross selling, you can collaborate with some brands, and you can you know give deep markdowns, with those cross selling brands as well. So that is, I think, one of the things. Very importantly, when if we are buying uh, floor stacks, end caps, or any kind of marketing space, display spaces within a store, we should always check the planogram of the store. We should not just randomly, because modern trade chains, they have already been booked by multiple brands, all those spaces where they can rent out. So every shelf, every corner is an asset to the store, and that asset has an asset number. So, my suggestion would be that when you are renting out a space for any period of time, you should always ask for the asset number. The area manager or the TSM or the regional manager or the sales officer, whatever the designation is, they should go and check whether that position of that rack or that shelf is relevant to you or not, right? There might be a shelf which is next to hygiene section, and you are selling snacks. They would give the end cap there. That can be possible, while they will indulge you by saying that is a power aisle, but that might not be the best possible place to place your product and do it that way. But I think there is a uh, mm, you know not always it is budget requirement, but you can always have a relation building at the store and take as much as space that is possible. So that is one thing. Every sales team in the market always dreams of having their own either distribution network, company, or own brand, right?
Uh-huh.
That is there. Everyone does that. When I shifted from FMCG to AgriTech, that was during COVID period. Entire FMCG was declining. General trade was shut down. Most of the stores, even if they were open, the brands who were not essential in terms of even FMCG, they were unable to supply, right? Even
Uh-huh.
the ultimate essential commodities were only getting supply. For to if I can recall correctly, say for example, snacks industry declined heavily because not because the demand was not there. Demand was there,
Uh-huh.
but the distributors wanted to in block their money, stock on regular essentials. People who were not selling groceries like egg, the oils, or branded grocery biscuits and others, they started doing that, and they started giving less indents and POs for the beverages or the snacking categories. So that was completely a volatile market back then. And I always had an inclination, even the previous organization where I had worked was also behind the front line. They were already supporting, farmers to a certain extent. And I always chose companies who are keen in sustainable way of procurement for their raw materials, or they do some sort of betterment for their for the agricultural industry. So I had my experience back there as well. Not just I was working for any high shelf life FMCG company. I was working with a very low shelf life FMCG companies. All of my companies wherever I work. So my shift was pretty easy, I would say, because the demand was there. Even the demand for sales team in agritech is there. because there are not much organized, sales force who are dealing with organized F&B.